Hey everybody, it's Jordan Cunliffe back here today with my fourth video. We're talking about recovery and addiction and personal development and growth, personal growth. Um, Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the choices I have to make on a daily basis. I think the first thing I want to talk about in regards to that is discipline. I follow a guy named Jocko. He has a Jocko podcast. I'm sure you've heard of it. If not, check it out. But one of his mottos is discipline equals freedom, and I really believe that is true. In active addiction, it takes a lot of you don't have any discipline, and in early recovery, it takes a lot of discipline in order to stay sober. You can't rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes, and what gets you through those tough days when you're not feeling motivated is discipline. And the way that I demonstrate discipline in my recovery, a lot of it is through routine, and that's probably my biggest or one of the biggest factors in me staying sober. I have a really good solid morning routine, so I start each and every day off really well. And it takes discipline to stick to that routine. So, usually in the mornings, the first thing I do is work out. And for me right now, that's just walking. I walk 2.5 miles every morning, making sure that I do that every day. Number one, it keeps me healthy. It releases endorphins and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I accomplished something at the beginning of the day. And, there's mornings that I wake up that I don't necessarily feel like walking those 2.5 miles, or while I'm walking, I think, I could just turn here and take a shorter route. But, staying disciplined to make sure that I go the full 2.5 miles every day has been a huge part of my recovery. It makes me feel accomplished. First thing in the morning, I see myself losing weight, getting healthier, and it just starts my day off in a really positive way. And I think routine is essential in early recovery. You have to develop a new routine. The routine does so much. It structures your day, and it makes you know what you're going to do with your time, so that when you find yourself, first thing when I wake up, when I find myself struggling a little bit, I know what I need to do. I don't have time to dwell on the negative emotions, or if I'm feeling crappy, I can't, fall into that, feeling bad for myself. And, if I'm having a craving, then, it puts my mind in the correct space so I can start doing something. And a lot of that helps reduce cravings. When you have, a lot of times when you get in recovery, and that's my case, I have a lot more free time than I realized I would. And, having that routine and that structure in my day really helps me stay on task and not get caught up in too much in my thoughts. Where I can end up thinking about drugs or cravings, or, and it helps. And if I am having one, it helps me step out of that mind space, because I know that there's something I need to do. So anyway, my morning routine really sets the tone with my exercise. As I've mentioned in my other videos, family is something that's extremely important to me, and has been really great to have their support, and it's made my recovery go much smoother, and I feel a lot more joy in life as a result of having my family and my friends back in my life. So the next thing I do, or sometimes while I walk, is I call my little sister, and I talk to her for about an hour every morning. And it's cool because we're developing that new relationship again, where we're in each other's lives and we know what's going on with each other day to day. And it's been really fulfilling. I feel a lot more connected and a lot more bonded with her. The impact that it's had on my recovery is priceless. I love her to death. Shout out Kennedy. I also touch base with my mom multiple times a day, and that's part of my routine. And having a routine makes it a little bit easier to be accountable for what you do, because you tell when you have a routine, you know what you're supposed to do each and every day. And that's huge. And that's huge in recovery. Being accountable, showing up when you're supposed to show up, doing the things that you're supposed to do, are all ways to get your brain to start better habits and have that positive feedback loop on your day. Where you did something you were supposed to do, and that feels good, and you don't get down about yourself. You feel accomplished, rather than feeling like a lowlife and a loser. because you didn't do what you were supposed to do and you're still fucking up and using, so routine, it has, for me, has been essential. The next thing that I really want to talk about, and I actually think this is the most important thing in early recovery, is just being brutally honest. You know, honest with yourself, honest with others. It really helps with that accountability piece. The amount of stress reduction that I have just by being honest is amazing. I don't tell, because so much of addiction is built in secrets and lies. You're hiding about what you're doing. You're hiding about where you're going. You're hiding about your using. You're hiding your using. You can't be really honest with anybody. Even just when somebody talks to you about how you're doing, you try to make it seem like it's okay, and you say, I'm doing well, this is going on, blah, blah, blah. But you get this cognitive dissonance built in because you're really not okay. And not that you should tell everybody your life story when they ask you how you're doing. That's not how it works. But you're lying to yourself, because you're actually in a I actually have been in a horrible space where I try to make it seem like everything's fine and there's nothing going on with me. But being able to be honest with yourself about where you are is, I think, the very first step in changing your life. Whether you're in recovery or not, but especially in addiction, when you're talking about addiction, you have to be able to be honest with yourself about where you are in life, and that's the first step. So much of my time I spent like, oh, I'm doing okay, I'm using, but it's weird. It's this weird loop, because when you're using, the only thing that makes you feel okay is the drugs, and so you're kind of you're lying to yourself. You're not being honest with yourself about how you're doing. But you have to. You think the drugs are actually making you feel okay, but they're not. They're making you suppress all your emotions and anything that you've been going through that you don't want to deal with. And the first step in being able to deal with anything is being honest about it. When you have a problem in your life, you have to honestly say, okay, this isn't working out for me, or you know what? For me, it was, I'd watch all these inspirational videos and I'd see people, doing all this cool shit, and I wanted to do it too. I always wanted to make these YouTube videos, but or if they talk about like seven, that you see those videos, 7 steps to improve your life today, or whatever it is, I would watch all those videos, but I had to be honest with myself. I can't do any of those steps, and I won't be able to, no matter how hard I try, until I get sober. And I knew that in the back of my mind, and it was really, really, really tough thing to face, to be like, no matter what my dreams are, there's no way I'm going to be able to accomplish them unless I get sober. And so I had to face that fact, and now I and a lot of other things I've had to face, the things that I've done to my family and to my friends while I've been using, and one of the hardest things for me to face was that I'm nowhere near accomplishing my dreams, and I didn't know if it was ever going to be possible for me to do that. But the first step for me was to say, okay, I have a problem, and I need to take care of it, and I need to quit using. And it's hard to be that honest with yourself, because the drugs are the only thing that make you feel good at that time. It's like it's your comfort food. It's the only thing that comforts you, and blocks out all those negative things that you think about yourself. And it blocks out you don't have to deal with where you're at in reality. You don't have to be honest with yourself and say, my life's not where I want it to be, and I want to make those changes. You can't do that under the influence. It takes you being honest with yourself to be able to move forward in any direction. What is the problem? Look at it honestly. And then from there, you can start thinking about what to do about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of honesty is, as I mentioned earlier, that addiction is filled with so many lies and secrets. Where's your money going? What you're really doing with your time? You don't tell anybody because you're ashamed of those things. And another thing is that I wanted to talk about in terms of being honesty and being honest in early recovery is, I don't really give myself any excuses for relapse. I'm almost 90 days sober, and so at this point, I know way better. And not that it's always easy, but when I'm having a craving or I'm having a tough day, I have to ask myself and be honest with myself. Right in this moment, am I doing everything that I can to make this craving go away, or to handle this craving, or whatever the case may be, and to deal with this upsetting feeling? Or, if I'm feeling uneasy or stressed about something, am I doing everything I can to alleviate that stress? Because in active addiction, you get so caught up in doing nothing about the things you're struggling with except for using. That's how you solve all your problems. And that's most certainly how I did. So, being honest with everybody around you so that they can hold you accountable, and you can hold yourself accountable in everything that you do, and problem solving. Before you can solve any of the problems, you have to admit that you have a problem. And when you're dealing with the problems, like such as a craving or a conflict or whatever, you have to ask yourself honestly, am I doing everything that I can in order to make this better? And if you're not, then that's the first step. Okay, I'm not doing everything I can to make this craving go away, or I'm not putting all the time into my recovery that I need to be so that I don't have these cravings. Now that I've admitted that to myself, what can I do? What more can I do to alleviate these cravings or to avoid them at all in the future? So, in closing, I'll wrap this up by saying, yes, you have to have discipline, you have to have a routine, and the most important thing and the way to start all those things is you have to be honest with yourself and everybody around you, so that you can have the accountability to do the right thing. And honestly, being honest is just so much easier. It sucks to lie. It makes you a bad person. You lie to yourself. You start to believe your own lies that everything's fine, and it's just not. Your life isn't going to go the way you want to until you can be honest with yourself. That's what I've learned. So honesty and being honest with everyone. And if I do find that I've told a lie, going back and correcting that mistake. Just the other day, I had to do that with my mom. I told her something, and I was kind of flustered when we were on the phone, and it drove me nuts. It ate at me so badly that I didn't tell her the truth in that moment. So as soon as I got a free second at work, I called her and I said, "Mom, this is what actually happened," and it felt so good. And I know that meant a lot to her as well, because she sees that I'm trying to be honest, which I lied about everything while I was using. So, yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you can find some value in this video. Try to find, or if you're struggling with active addiction or in early recovery, try to find a support system, try to get a good routine down, and just work really hard to be honest in everything that you do, to yourself and to everyone. I hope this video provides some value. I love everybody out there. Hope you're having a great day. Much love, y'all. Peace.